The magnificent natural pastures, the short seasons, and a long history of cheesemaking are just some of the reasons why cheeses from the northern Italian Alps are so special. But many of them are never found outside the region. So I've come here to find out more about them. Craggy snow-capped mountains, green alpine meadows, deep lakes, and a friendly welcome from the locals who speak a curious mixture of Italian and German are just some of the reasons to visit. This region has always been strategically important for trade flowing through the Brenner Pass. And today, there are surprisingly few signs of the battles that raged during Napoleonic times and 2 world wars. I've arrived here just as the first snow of the season has started to fall, and large herds of cows are being slowly driven down from the high mountain pastures to mark the end of traditional summer grazing. My first stop is the Vicenza region of Veneto, which lies in the foothills of the Alps. I've come here to look at Asiago, which is by far the most popular traditional cow's milk cheese of the region. Originally named after the old town of Asiago, all production of this renowned cheese is now strictly controlled under Italian DOP law. And the finest examples are produced in dairies high on the mountain plateaus. I've been lucky enough to find a very special farmhouse dairy which is home to a fabulous Italian treasure. The beautiful mountains of Veneto are home to Italy's oldest cheesemaker. He's been making Asiago cheese for the past 70 years in this dairy behind me and still uses wood to heat the vat. This farm is situated 1,300 metres above sea level, and cheese made here is only produced from June to September in a very traditional time-honoured way, using raw milk and a giant copper vat heated over a fire. The cheesemaker here is an incredible 84 years old and has been making cheese since he was 9 on the family's 40-hectare property.
There are only 2 people in Asiago that are still making the cheese in the old way.
Is that with the wood or?
The wood,
yeah.
And as well...
And with the copper vat.
Exactly.
How important is the copper vat?
È molto importante usare il coso di rame.
Dare?
Usare il rame.
Sì, ci vuole il rame. L'acciaio raffredda troppo veloce e si
Yeah, the copper keeps the temperature, constant temperature, and the steel, stainless steel is basically the temperature changes very quickly, and that is not very good for the cheese.
The cheese produced here has changed little since his father's time, and this veteran uses no modern equipment. Instead, quality depends entirely on his intuition and experience. Wow, that is special. It's sweet, beautiful, beautiful cream. I don't think I've ever tried such lovely cream in my entire life. That is very, very special, beautiful. Before making cheese, the cream is first collected off the top of milk for making butter. After the curd is set, the next step is to cut it once before it's heated over the fire and stirred continuously for about 40 minutes. Once the curds have gathered at the base of the copper vat, they're gently placed into old-fashioned wooden hoops. These are then carefully stacked and allowed to drain overnight. The cheese is then salted and matured in a special cellar beside the dairy for anything between 3 months to a few years. Tell him he must live a long time because we need this tradition.
Ha detto che gli augura di vivere tanto, tanto perché noi abbiamo bisogno di questa tradizione.
We want to come back in another 70 years and see you still making cheese.
Ha detto che dobbiamo tornare indietro in 70 anni e trovarlo ancora qua a fare formaggio.
It was a genuine privilege to meet such an experienced veteran cheesemaker, and I would have loved to stay for longer, but it was time to head further south to look at another well-known cheese. I'm driving to a small dairy which has been making cheese for the last 4 generations. It's run by the Perenzin family, and I gather they make some of the best Montasio in the region. It also makes a drunken cheese, which I can't wait to try. The original recipe for Montasio was created by monks in the Alps during the 12th century using ewe's milk, but now it's only made from cow's milk. The Perenzin family dairy is well known for a wonderful range of handcrafted Montasio cheeses. And they also produce an interesting range of regional specialties which are sold from a small shop at the front of their dairy. That's great. So what do you call that? The sound of
the music of the cheese.
The music of the cheese.
It's amazing
Yes.
for the tourist.
Yeah. Right.
But it's also to know if the cheese is okay in the maturing.
Like many Italian cheeses, Montasio is classified into 3 stages of maturation. The flavour varies from mild and delicate when fresh, becoming gradually stronger and more aromatic over time. It's got a lovely little crunch in it with the calcium lactate. It's lovely and it's sweet.
And silky.
Long
Yes.
Yeah.
Long taste.
So this one is 16 months old.
Yes.
That's delicious.
Yeah. This is older.
I see these cheeses have no wax, no. Some Montasio I see sometimes has a wax or plastic. This is all natural.
No, it's natural.
Yeah, very.
Like you can see, it's natural. We don't use nothing, only a little bit of oil.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
Fabulous flavour. Montasio can be eaten as a table cheese or grated on pasta. And in this alpine region, it's also used to make frico, where it's simply fried to create a thin crust and served with potatoes or polenta. Perenzin's drunken cheese is made with local grapes that have been crushed by hand. So the cheese is covered with the crushed grapes?
Yes.
And then put in this tank over here?
Yes.
And then what happens to
For
it?
10 days, stay here.
Yeah.
And this is a warm place because the mast is fermenting. So the cheese change and they have a different maturation.
Okay, so what happens because it's fresh grapes,
Yes.
they will start to ferment in the tank in a
Yes.
warm area?
Yeah.
And that will give the cheese a certain flavour, is that what you're
Yes,
saying?
a different flavor.
Oh, that's clever. So,
Yeah.
in fact, you're using fresh grape juice
Yes.
and then letting it turn to wine with the cheese.
Yes.
And what do you call this cheese?
This is capra ubriaco al traminer. That is goat cheese drunk with traminer grapes. The translation.
Emanuela explained that in the olden days, this drunken cheese was actually created as a way to hide the cheese from the landowners and not pay a percentage when the cheese was eventually sold. Other storage methods included hay and vine leaves, and also the addition of beeswax applied to the surface of the cheese. At the nearby Ristorante da Ghigetto, we joined the head chef, Marco, to sample one of the dairy's latest creations. There you go, chef. So this is new, this is not traditional.
No. We need to produce a drunk cheese in all time during the year. So we can produce this cheese only in September, October when we have fresh grapes. And this is I can produce this drunken cheese all the time.
So you have a sort of red wine drunken cheese and a fresh grape drunken cheese.
Yes.
So will you cook us a dish with the Montasio?
Adesso ci cucini un piatto con Montasio?
Certo.
What will you cook?
Sure. Cosa?
Faremo una lasagna con dei funghi porcini e ovviamente il nostro
porcini
Montasio.
mushroom and Montasio.
Ah, perfect for this time of year. Yeah, I like that. I'll drink to that.
Yeah.
Cheers. Thank you. Thank you. Marco begins by making fresh lasagna sheets and cooking them in boiling salted water. And this is like a bechamel sauce, like a sauce with...
È come una besciamella?
Sì, è praticamente una besciamella morbida con dentro i funghi porcini che vengono battuti e che danno il profumo del fungo.
Besciamella with mushroom porcini.
Porcini, beautiful, yeah. And why the little lump of cheese in the middle?
Perché il pezzo di formaggio?
È perché si sente la goccia di formaggio fuso in bocca quando lo si taglia, fa la
Very
goccia.
clever.
Yes.
So that it melts in the middle, yes?
Yes.
Very clever idea. So 3 layers.
Sì, il terzo strato lo andremo a concludere con del parmigiano. Sì, questo è un Montasio più vecchio, stagionato.
Aged Montasio.
Ah, okay.
The other is fresher.
Yeah. Oh, so that's the fresh and the aged. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Very nice.
Andremo a mettere un filino di burro
Butter.
Vado.
Okay.
che aiuterà a non bruciare il Montasio. Lo sistemeremo in una cocotte e in forno logicamente per 10 minuti.
And then straight in the oven.
In the oven. Yeah.
Very simple.
Yeah.
Very simple. Brilliant idea. Marco also makes a dish using eggs and a mix of the Perenzin drunken cheese and Montasio Menzano beaten together with hot cream. Once strained, this rich sauce is set in the oven. It is then cooled before a thin layer of reduced red wine is added, then topped with braised porcini and a breadstick. Absolutely mouth-watering. After tasting the famous Asiago and Montasio cheeses of the Veneto region, it was time to head north into the mountains to the high alpine meadows of the Alto Adige. My first stop was a typical small dairy farm in the Prags Valley, run by farmer and cheesemaker David Patzleiner. It smells very sweet. Sweet.
Un po' forte.
Oh, yeah, it's strong.
Yeah, strong.
It's strong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
strong. Sì, sì. Vecchio. È vecchio, sì, sì. Si capra.
I can tell it's goat. Definitely can tell it's goat. Big time. It's got a real billy goat finish to it. It's quite nice though. Quite nice. Molto bene.
Molto buono.
Each day, David makes a range of cheeses using fresh raw milk collected from a small herd of cows and goats grazing on the steep alpine slopes of his farm. Most of these are sold to locals and tourists from his tiny farm shop. However, many cheesemakers higher in the Alps are much more isolated, and finding a market for their cheese is a real problem. A few valleys away, an enterprising local chef has found a unique solution. This extraordinary looking building is in fact an old bunker built during the 1930s. Today it's home to 50,000 cheeses, most of them very rare, and it's full of high Alpage varieties that you won't find at any other time of year, because right now it's autumn. Inside this 1930s Italian bunker, there are literally dozens of small rooms, each one housing a different variety of cheese made by a small alpine dairy. This unique facility was created by Hansi Baumgartner, who grew up in the area. After establishing himself as a respected chef, he decided to start a business selecting and aging the local alpine cheeses. What a place!
Sì, 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 sì.
What a great use for an old bunker. Amazing. That's perfect. As his range of specialist cheeses grew, Hansi began adding herbs, spices, and soaked vine leaves to further differentiate his products. And at his shop in the nearby town, he offered to let me taste some of the local classics.
So, this is the grey cheese.
Yeah.
It really smells of decay.
Pieces in it. Yeah.
It's good even with oil. It's a little bit dry, acid, and a little bitter. It's typical.
Typical Alto Adige.
Alto Adige.
Very good. One more. What's this one?
This is from the mountain. 24 months mature.
Oh, that's strong. Smells of nuts. Oh, that's really strong. Really strong.
Here we need a glass of wine.
Sounds like a really good
A
idea.
perfect match.
One for you.
L'abbinamento
One
è
for you.
sì. E la grind.
Together.
Salute.
Thank you. Salute.
Thank you. Salute, salute.
Farmers in this region generally have just 1 or 2 cows. And traditionally, milk isn't collected on a cooperative basis, whether down here in the valleys or high in the alpage. And as a result, most of the cheeses are quite small in size and very seasonal. Traditional farming in this high alpine region dates back centuries. And the reason I've come to this region is to try and find an unusual grey cheese made from whey left over after butter making. Why such a small bridge?
It's a normal bridge. It's only for the farmer's house, and so it's enough when it's so large.
Wow, look at this. This looks great. We began by milking the family herd. Just 2 cows, named Reini and Hilda. The fresh raw milk was then taken to a small spotless dairy built beneath the house, and a small home separator was used to remove the cream. This was then poured into a wooden churn to start the laborious process of making traditional handmade butter. Sour cream, fantastic.
This is salt.
We need a little bit of salt here, but that is really lovely. Very special. After churning for some time, the butter begins to separate from the buttermilk and is removed and rinsed in cold water to make it easier to handle. Using a traditional wooden bowl, the butter is then skillfully pounded into a football shape and decorated using a carved wooden spool. After making butter, the leftover low-fat milk was traditionally used to make the region's famous grey cheese. Each farm once made its own version, and here the milk is slowly heated to 40 degrees so that the curds rise naturally to the surface of the cooking pot. They are then cut and flipped gently by hand so the curd is cooked evenly. Sour, sweet.
Sour, sweet, because there it isn't salt.
Very low fat. I mean,
Very, very low fat. The final cheese have less than 2% fat.
gosh.
Also, cholesterol, it isn't inside. It's a very modern cheese from this side.
Cholesterol free.
Absolutely.
The curds are removed and gently broken before being sprinkled with salt and scooped into wooden hoops. A lid is placed on the hoops and they are drained over a bowl overnight. It looks just like cottage cheese all pressed together.
And this very, very white now, and so especially the people are thinking that it's goat cheese, but it's not goat, it's only cow milk.
So this is made all year.
From the 40 producers what are existing, 30 of them are working all the year on the house, and 10 of them only in the summer in alpage.
Ah, that's really, really special. After being left to drain overnight, they're placed into an open safe where they ripen for several weeks or longer. If left, they grow very strange long whiskers of grey mould, hence the name. Typically, this cheese is served with bread, onions and beer, and I wanted to find out more, so I arranged to travel even higher into the famous Dolomites to meet one of the region's most respected chefs. So this is really a combination of Italian and South Tyrolean, this dish here.
Well, you know, the fun thing about this area is that we used to be Austria until 1918, and then we came Austria to Italy, so now we have a lot of influences from still from the old cuisine and Austrian-Hungarian cuisine, and now from the Italian cuisine. That's why. So
this is the Italian way.
This is the Italian way, and here we have the real traditional way. This is a pasta made with eggs, flours, and blood.
Ingredient. Blood. From
blood
what?
from pork.
Blood from pork.
Yes.
Nice, nice.
So this one is. That's why it's so red, and then we just cook it. We saute it in butter, and then in the end we just put some grey cheese on top. And grey cheese from this area is probably the most typical cheese, and the most important cheese, because the farmers, when they in summertime when they had the cows up in the mountains, so they had the milk, then they made the butter, and this was just the leftover. Before we serve it, we just put some cheese on.
Oh yeah, look at that. Al dente risotto. It's really nice.
So now
cheese?
What's
this for?
This is the spuma with the grey cheese, yes.
Oh, okay.
So.
That looks great. You're missing one thing.
Yes, I missed the chive.
The chive?
Chive is very important.
Yeah, I'll let you just throw a little bit on the top of this.
Yes, like this. And then something crunchy, it's just very typical bread from this area. Just dried out and then make like brösel, very crunchy. And so you have all the ingredients that we use usually to serve the grey cheese.
Fantastic, fantastic.
We have.
Let's go and try it, shall we?
Sure, yes.
If I'm really honest, I understand why the butter is so special, but I don't get why the locals are so proud of their grey cheese. It's certainly different, but it's easy to understand why they take so much pride in the region. I guess anything tastes pretty good when surrounded by such a stunning landscape. The magnificent...
Entro in tutti questi anni.